Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Doors Unlocked. I'm Dylan Tovitz along with Tristan Rutman, and we are ecstatic to bring to you another week of Vandy Sports. We have a lot to cover. It's been, like we've said all along, a really exciting time with Vanderbilt Sports. We have some games planned today. It's going to be a really fun episode. So let's dive right into it. We're going to start with a little recap of the week. So men's basketball suffered a tough loss to Oklahoma this week. What do you got on that, Tristan?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. We're excited to get into the episode today. Unfortunately, we have to recap this Oklahoma game real quick. So the Dores went into Oklahoma and suffered defeat, 30-point loss. Real question is, what went wrong in the second half? And my thought is that we couldn't really guard the three ball too well. They were knocking down shots. They were very hot. Ended up losing by 30, even though we led by 13 earlier on in the game. So an unfortunate loss there. Knocked us out of the AP poll. Dylan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, my thought is everything is what went wrong in the second half. It was like complete and utter collapse, and it's really the first time this season we've seen like just complete like the team fall apart.
Yep.
They looked really good in the first half to start the game.
They looked great.
Jason Edwards, we talked about last week how he was really kind of coming into his own. That continued into the first half this week.
He was on fire.
He was really generating offense.
I think 5 for 5 at one point earlier on in the game. Started missing a couple of shots. The offense lost its flow. Oklahoma took advantage. Just fell apart from like the 6-minute mark of the first half and on.
And it spiraled really quickly. And I think couple things I wanted to say with that kind of beginning of the second half. It was like a 6-minute span, and they went on like a 20-something-0 run. First thought is this team needs to somehow adapt and learn how to start succeeding on the road. I think we've seen their home really, they've done a really good job at home. But that can't happen like a run like that where they just get completely demolished on the road. The crowd got too involved, and frankly, it was like possession after possession. They were turning the ball over a ridiculous amount in the beginning of that second half. I would have liked to see Mark Byington adapt there more. Like, I thought he used some of his timeouts already, but I thought like that was way too long of a stretch to go on without a timeout at points there.
I thought the J.Q. Roberts minutes were interesting. I guess it was for the size, and apparently there was some disciplinary reason why Jalen Carey wasn't playing earlier on in the game, but still an interesting play nonetheless.
Yeah, Roberts, he had a couple good plays, but he was definitely very raw.
Yeah, raw talent for sure.
There's something to work on there.
Transitioning into women's basketball now. To recap their past two games, they played against Florida and absolutely demolished them on the road. The story with this one is Mikayla Blakes again. She had 53 points, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know where to begin with that. She's an incredible scorer. She's got so much in her arsenal. 53 points for a freshman, let alone any player in NCAA, is just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I mean, I think she broke several records with that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she broke the Vanderbilt all-time scoring record in a game. She broke the SEC all-time scoring record in a game, and she broke the NCAA freshman scoring record.
Those were the three that I saw as well.
I mean, this is an all-time legendary performance we saw from Mikayla Blakes.
Unreal.
Against Florida. And I think it's safe to say, like, this was not an anomaly. Like, obviously, she's not going to put up 50 points every single game, but she is developing, like, right in front of our eyes into a superstar.
It was her second 30-point game in a row. I mean, we talked about it last week, but yeah, she's incredible. And then next, they played Ole Miss at home. They played this last Sunday. Unfortunately, this one did not go as well as the Florida game. Ole Miss is not a ranked opponent, so it wasn't a great loss. They are now swept by the Rebels on the season after losing twice. However, Vanderbilt still stayed ranked after this game. Camille Pierre played great. Mikayla Blakes was efficient, although she didn't score as prolifically as the previous game because she got in foul trouble early on. So not a great performance for Vanderbilt there, but they stay ranked. Hopefully they can keep up the momentum.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about it for whatever reason. I think the Rebels have kind of been their Achilles heel this season. We'll see how they bounce back, but I really think, that duo of Blakes and Pierre was struggling a little bit before this game, so it was good to see her kind of get back on track, and she had 24 points maybe.
Yeah.
Pretty solid game.
Great game.
I think what's going to, for the Lady Dores, it's really going to depend, like, who else can step up once we get to these bigger games, out of the rest of the squad.
Yeah.
Because Blakes and Pierre can only take them so far.
Yeah, and I like what we've been seeing from Ayanna Moore, but she's also shown some inconsistency with being able to knock down threes, which is supposed to be her specialty, and I guess we'll see how that continues to play on. Still early in the season.
All right, well, to segment into our next activity, our first game, we are each going to bring to you guys a hot take that we have. Hot take related to college basketball in general, I'd say. We're each going to have our own. We have not heard each other's hot takes yet, so you're going to see our live and raw reactions to this. Yeah. Go ahead, Tristan. Hot take.
All right, my hot take. It's going to upset a lot of people. Cooper Flagg is not as good as Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper should be the #1 overall pick and will be the best NBA player of this year's draft class.
I'm processing. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I mean,
it's a hot take for sure.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not like all that knowledgeable about the kind of ins and outs of both players. But from everything I read about Cooper Flagg, he seems like a generational.
This is certainly not a knock on Cooper
So
Flagg.
you know what? Let's okay. So it's more of a pro Dylan Harper.
Yes,
than
absolutely.
All right,
Cooper Flagg is absurd.
Well, let me hear why.
Okay.
Give me why. Convince me.
So I'll compliment Cooper Flagg first. He's leading Duke in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. First freshman to ever do that. I think in the ACC, maybe in the whole landscape of college basketball, which is absurd. You've heard the name. You've heard so much hype around him. I mean, the guy is going to be generational. Dylan Harper, on the other hand, is incredibly poised as a playmaker, as a scorer. He's had 30-point bursts this season. I just see the frame that he has as a point guard. I think that he's going to bring that into the NBA with whatever team he comes on and immediately take the lead role. And I just don't see a world where he doesn't succeed in the NBA immediately. I think he's going to be an instant impact guy. Cooper Flagg, I think, could take a year to find his own and get into a groove in the NBA, although it's really hard to say because he's also pretty incredible. I mean, they're both incredible players. I just personally favor Dylan Harper a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Jersey kid, so whenever you're gonna give a little shout out to Rutgers. Not that I have any direct ties to Rutgers, but yeah, I mean, I hear you. I think I would still pick Cooper Flagg over him if I had the first pick, but I hear you. All right, so for my hot take, it might be a little less controversial, but more of kind of a little bit out there. So Alex Hemingway, I think he's going to come back for the Commodores, and he's going to have a big impact in March. He's going to be kind of that spark plug off the bench for them. Just a little bit about Alex Hemingway and why I think this. So
Interesting.
Hemingway, Clemson transfer. He's really kind of sort of a one-tool player, honestly. I think he's in his 5th or 6th year of eligibility. It's his last year of eligibility. He'll provide that leadership for the Dores that they need with a very young roster. But mainly, he's just like a really good shooter. I think he's shooting like a career 43%, I want to say. It might be a little off, but I want to say it's 43% from behind the arc. Vanderbilt really needs shooting. They need to stretch the floor more. We're going to talk a little bit about how their guards are very defensive-minded, very kind of, twitchy like players. Really, their only true three-point shooter on the team is Tyler Nickel. And that doesn't mean that, and when I say three-point shooter, I mean
3-and-D guy.
Yeah, 3-and-D, wing, knocks down shots consistently, catch and shoot.
Sits at the three-point line.
I think they really need this because what we're going to talk about is their offenses, and I think I said this last week, but their offense is very dependent on Jason Edwards and A.J. Hogarth getting into the paint and then kicking it out, the drive and kick offense. And if they want to have success against these teams, they're going to need to start knocking down shots at a higher clip and, more importantly, at a more consistent clip because we've seen how streaky this team is with everything, but with shooting especially. And Hemingway, I think, will really have an impact as a perimeter shooter. The question mark with him, obviously, is if he comes back. And I don't have any, insider information on this one, but I think if he does come back, we will see him kind of have a really, really big impact on this team in March, and it's really going to kind of transform their identity a little bit. So look out for Alex Hemingway.
I think the last part is sort of where I disagree with your hot take. I do think that his injury is a pretty big concern. There's a reason he hasn't played all season. I think he was maybe announced to be healthy for one game this season, but otherwise he's been on the injury report. He's even been left off the injury report because of a lack of confidence in the fact that he's going to be healthy at any point.
Yep.
So I think his injuries, not to harp on him at all, or too much, but throughout his career, he hasn't played a ton of games. He's been a lot on the bench and injured. So I think seeing him come into the lineup in, I assume, late February to March and then having an immediate impact would be something that surprises me. So I can't necessarily say I agree with your take.
All right.
But I like the rationale you're coming from with the shooting, and Vanderbilt could definitely prosper from a player like him.
Yeah, he's also he's a really good clubhouse guy, leader. Like along with Hogard, he'll bring that veteran
I would agree
leadership.
with that.
But yeah, I guess I can alter that a little bit to if he comes back, he'll have that kind of impact, which
maybe that's
maybe
a
is
little more
not
fair.
even and maybe that's not even a hot take at that point. But yeah, all right. So those were our takes. Next segment, you want to introduce it? Go ahead.
Yeah. So Dylan mentioned this one earlier, talking about our defensive-minded guards, but we're going to do an overrated or underrated. So our first overrated or underrated aspect to rate is the value of defensive-minded guards for Vanderbilt. So these are guys like Chris Magnon, Grant Huffman, Tyler Tanner, even Hogard. Even though Hogard does have a more offensive spark than some of these guys, this also includes him. So I guess let's get into their value. What would you rate them? Overrated, underrated?
It's tricky. It's kind of not, I wouldn't say it's a very simple answer, but I would say slightly overrated.
Interesting. Interesting.
Just in the sense that, I think having a player or two that has this defensive, minded, especially guards, like when we're talking about the SEC, we're talking about like most of the players, in the SEC that are going to dominate the game are guards. So you do need guys that can defend. But I think the problem we're starting to run into with this team, and I said this a little bit earlier, but I think the problem we're starting to run into with this team is there's just not enough offensive production. And these guys like Manon, Huffman, even Tanner, not that they're complete offensive liabilities, because they're not.
Certainly
but not. I really think that there's just their ability to produce offense off the dribble is really kind of not there, and it ends up being that when this offense gets stagnant, it's just like pass it around to the end of the shot clock and then let Jason Edwards do something, and that's just not sustainable. So I shouldn't say defensive-minded guards are overrated, but it's really just I think they need more offensive-minded players on the team, because like the defensive-minded guards can only take them so far, But I see the other argument. Like go ahead,
Yeah,
give me your side of things.
I'll disagree with you, and I'll say that I think that they are underrated to properly rated, somewhere in that spectrum. And so your point on the shot creating ability, I definitely agree with that. I do think Tyler Tanner will build on that throughout his career. He's just a true freshman, so I think that his skill is only going to increase.
That's right.
For guys like Magnon and Huffman, I definitely see them struggling to create off the dribble, and we definitely lack that. There's a lot of grenades, which are balls that end up at the end of the shot clock, get passed to Jason Edwards. He has to either chuck up a shot or pass the ball, and there's a shot clock turnover. There's definitely issues with the shot clock and getting up quality looks, which I would agree with you on that. But I would say that they're underrated in the fact that Vanderbilt's one of their saving graces this season has been their turnover margin, and a lot of that comes from our guards' ability to get steals. So even a guy who we failed to mention, MJ Collins, but the combination of Collins, Magnon, Huffman, and Tanner, all four of them, combined for, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would guess enough steals that it has a clear impact on the game. And that's a big reason why Vanderbilt is able to get up a lot of shots, and even on the nights where they're not shooting so well, because of their ability to turn over their opponents, they get the ball back, have more possessions, get more shots. So the increased volume sort of accounts for the decrease in efficiency.
Yeah, I will say I do think it gives them an identity, which I like. Like,
For
I
sure.
think their identity as a team is these kind of defensive-minded players, defensive-minded guards. So that's good to see. All right, to move on to the next one. So the next one's a little more general in college basketball. It's the idea of home court advantage in college basketball. Obviously, we've seen this in play a lot with Vanderbilt, so not with Vanderbilt specifically, but in general, home court advantage in college basketball. Do you think it's overrated or underrated?
I think it's hard to say overrated or underrated. I think it's pretty properly.
You're not very good at this.
I think it's pretty properly rated. Things can be properly rated. So I think that it is because home court advantage, I mean, people recognize that when you go on the road somewhere, especially in the SEC or in the ACC, like big Power 4 conference teams, when you go on the road, it's a much harder matchup. You see it with the betting odds a lot. The spreads shift significantly, whether you're on the road or you're home. But I could see a sense of it being overrated for smaller schools, and not necessarily in size of the campus, but a matter of the sports identity at the school. Take Vanderbilt, for example. As much as sports are on the come up this season, there is a clear lack of home court advantage, I think, compared to a school like Alabama or a school like Kentucky or a school like Tennessee. When Vanderbilt faced off against the two ladders, Kentucky and Tennessee, in Memorial Gymnasium, there were a lot of away fans, and it took up the majority of the stadium. And as loud as the student section got, and I was there, I can account for that. I can attest to that. But there's a point where the student section can only do so much when there's so many fans visiting from other schools. So I think it really depends on the school how impactful home court advantage is.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I think another underrated part of I'm going to slightly disagree and say that home court advantage in college basketball, and I think this is applicable to all sports in general, but I'd say it's underrated. I think there's obviously the fan aspect, and I'm no athlete, but I'd have to imagine like being able to not, take a bus ride or a plane ride, being in your own facility, having like your own sort of schedule at your home court to warm up, to really like get that sense of familiarity. I'd have to imagine that that's really helpful. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
And I think, in college sports in general, again, professional sports, it's probably to a lesser degree, but in college sports in general, like having that fan base there, I'd have to imagine is so huge just for the team. Vanderbilt also has like an interesting, again, we're not talking about Vanderbilt specifically, but every court is different. Like Vanderbilt's court is very unique.
That's true.
A small thing like having the bench under the basket as opposed to on the side, like I would not be surprised if that kind of trips up away teams a lot, and little things like that, as well as kind of the fan presence and that familiarity, I think makes it underrated. And you see that in the results. I don't have any like general stats in front of me about home court advantage, but I think if you look at it, you see constantly worse teams that are, have a worse record or are favored to lose, winning on the road or winning at home games that they probably shouldn't be winning. And I think that you can attest that to home court advantage.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there.
Yeah.
I think that the argument could be made that home court advantage is overrated or underrated.
All
Getting
right.
to our last segment of the day.
Yeah.
So me and Dylan have each separately come up with a player in the NFL, just random player, and we're gonna each have 20 questions to guess the other's player.
I'm really hoping it doesn't take 20 questions.
Would you like to start?
Like, I'm guessing your player?
Yeah.
All right,
Go ahead.
yeah. Okay. Is this player in the NFC?
He is not.
All right, AFC. AFC, is he in the AFC East?
Nope.
West?
Nope.
North?
Yes.
All right,
4
AFC
questions
North.
down.
All
Got
right.
the division.
Kind of just wasted some questions. I guess I'm just going to guess team. Is this team orange?
Yes.
That was a good one.
I like that.
Bengals.
No.
Oh, you can be a Browns player? That's not a question.
I know.
Oh, jeez. This is not going to be good. All right, offense or
No.
defense? Defense. He's on defense. Browns defensive player. You really, you're killing me here. Front seven?
No.
All right, so secondary Browns. Corner?
Yes.
All right, I guess I'm just going to start
9
listing all the
players
Browns.
down. You got the team. You
I
got
guess
the
I'm going to
position.
start listing all the Browns corners I know, which are not very many. I'm not even going to guess Denzel Ward because I know it's not him.
Okay.
Greg Newsome?
No.
Is he on the Browns?
He may be. He may be on the Chiefs now. It may be the other way around, but whatever. It's not Greg Newsome.
Greg Newsome.
All right.
He is on the Browns.
Okay.
All right. I wanted to.
And you're 10 questions down.
All right. I do not have a lot more Browns cornerbacks in me.
You got plenty of questions left, so.
What else can I ask tonight? Was he a rookie in the last 2 years?
I think he may have been a rookie last year, but don't.
Last year,
don't,
as in, okay.
Like I think this past season may have been his second season, but don't pin that.
Browns rookie corner. Or Browns second-year cornerback. Yeah, I got nothing.
Really? You're giving up? Tapping out 11 questions.
Is it going to be? Am I going to be annoyed? I'm going to give me a letter. Give me what is his first name?
You can ask questions.
I'm not going through
left.
26 letters of the alphabet.
So ask half
All
the
right,
alphabet.
does it start with a vowel?
No.
Does it start with? Let's go last name. Does the last name start with not a vowel? Does the last name start with a vowel?
Yes.
Oh, all right. A.
No.
E.
Yes. 5 questions left.
Do I know this player?
You should.
I don't know. Wait, give me. All right, I'm giving up. You win.
All right.
If you get my player, which I think you will, because.
Okay.
But now give me. Don't let me
Should I
get.
tell you?
No, give me like the second letter.
Okay. His first name starts with an M. He has a junior also.
I don't know.
His last name is Ralph Waldo.
Emerson?
Yep.
Oh, Martin Emerson?
Yep. There you go.
I never in
long
a million
enough.
years would I have gotten that. All right.
Not my fault.
All right. I feel like it is. I want to give you a hard.
All right,
one.
I'll
I'm just
start
gonna look
guessing.
All right. Start guessing.
NFC.
NFC, yes.
South or west?
No.
North.
Yeah.
Bears or Packers?
No.
Lions.
No.
Okay. Offense?
No.
Secondary?
No.
Defensive line?
No.
So Vikings linebacker. I don't feel like. I feel like I'm kind of selling.
Ha ha. So my player's more known too, I bet. So.
Does his first name start with A through M?
It does.
A through G.
Mm-hmm. We're at 10, by the way.
Okay,
10
I got plenty
so
of
he's
questions
got 10
left.
more.
A through D.
Yes. 11.
A or B?
Yes.
A.
Yes. All right, 13 questions. You got 7 more.
Okay. Does his last name start with A through M?
No. You have no idea.
N through T.
Yes.
Okay.
I had to do the alphabet in my head there.
N through R.
All right, now I'm actually going to have to do the alphabet in my head. Yeah. Wait, not through T. It's
Not
after
through
T. It's after T.
It's after T?
It's after T.
Oh, you messed up the questions.
All right, I'll put you back to 15.
Okay, 15. After
You
T.
have 5 more. You're not going to get him if you don't know.
U through X.
Yes. 4 more.
W.
No.
V.
Yes.
Okay.
You got 2 more.
A. V. Is his first name Anthony?
It is not. 1 more question.
Is the second letter of his first name N?
Yes. That should give you the first name.
I feel like it's like Antoine or something like that. And it's not Anthony.
You're forgetting the main
Andrew Van Ginkel.
There you go. Wow.
Hold it
oh
out.
my God.
In the
that
20
was good.
questions.
That
There
was
we go.
That was actually.
Love it.
I thought I was gonna get you there.
Come on.
Andrew Van Ginkel.
Sweet.
He's actually a really good player.
Yeah.
Like
you had a pick six.
pick six. That's all he does.
Right?
All he does is the pick sixes. He did it to the Giants week 1. He like jumps those little bubble screens.
Let's not talk about the Giants. Instead, let's look ahead.
That was
to the
impressive
week.
though. Good. I mean, my player was a lot more obscure than
It was.
your players.
It was.
Yes. All right.
Let's
So
look ahead to the week. For men's basketball, we'll preview the Texas game. So Texas has a true freshman named Trey Johnson. Not sure if you've heard of him. He's averaging 19 points per game, top 10 NBA prospect. It's going to be crucial that we slow him down, which should be able to at least try to do with our defensive-minded guards that we've talked about throughout the episode. But Texas is on a bit of a hot streak. In their last 3 games, they've beat 2 ranked opponents in Missouri and Texas A&M, and they lost a close game on the road against Ole Miss. So the real question is, can we slow down Texas's momentum, and can our home success continue? It's definitely going to help Vanderbilt that we're going to be in Memorial. We've seen the success that the men's team has had at home. So hopefully we can keep that up, and hopefully we can take another SEC win.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really important game for the men. I mean, I think we talked last week sort of under the impression that, like, unless something went terribly wrong, we would make the tournament.
Yep.
After that bad loss to Oklahoma, that is definitely not the case anymore.
Yeah, we're moving back towards bubble status.
We're moving back towards bubble status. And this is a game, especially at home, that the Commodores should win. And they really kind of need to win.
It's an important game.
Or we're going to be having some very, different discussions at this time next week. So we'll see if their home success can continue. Really big game. So we have that for the men's. Going into the women's, who are also taking on Texas, which is maybe less of a game that they're supposed to win, but doesn't mean it's a game that they can't win. What do you got a little bit on the Texas women's team?
Well, yeah, Vanderbilt is going on the road to Texas. Texas is the number 4 team in the country, so definitely a challenge. I mean, we've seen the men upset some top 10 teams. We've not yet seen that for the women. They've beaten the 19th ranked team at the time and the 15th ranked team at the time. Mm-hmm. So definitely some good upsets.
They can do
definitely have a chance. We've talked all the time about Mikayla Blakes and Camille Pierre. So if their duo steps up, they can certainly pull off the upset. Texas has a forward named Madison Booker, who's averaging about 16 and 6 on the season. Like I said, Texas is one of the best teams in the country, so it's going to be a challenge, but hopefully the women can pull this off, and we can potentially get a sweep against Texas for the weekend.
Yeah. All right. That's about all we have for our show today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We hope you had as much fun as we did with those little games there. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you back here for episode 3 of Dores Unlocked next week. Have a good one.